Welcome to This Walking Life, the director's commentary, the fourth director's commentary for this YouTube channel, new YouTube channel. It's not even a month old. Anyway, so this particular video, and again, these commentaries are for my benefit. I'm talking in a conversational way during this director's commentary, this voiceover. I'm talking as if there was someone I'm having a conversation with who's interested in learning about this content, the strategies behind it, how it was put together. But first, basically, this commentary is for my benefit, first and foremost, that I can watch this content back, you see it unfold. It's kind of a proofing process, having put the footage together in the edit, and just seeing how it looks before I upload it. I've been learning a lot. Unfortunately, the third director's commentary was a bit of a mess in the finishing. It ran well over time, 10 minutes over time. The footage and the audio didn't mix. I guess the main reason was that I've watched the footage unfolding within the editing software and the hard drive that I've got. Yeah, there's some limitations there, not some huge limitations, but that's all it doesn't really affect the finished product, I don't think. So the first three directors' commentaries have covered a really broad range, but have been really focused within their outlook. The first director's commentary was about how the channel came about. The second director's commentary talked a little bit about creative choices and filming style, editing style. The third director's commentary was a bit more focused and in depth, and this commentary, what I want to focus on is this one has been created with a specific purpose in mind, and it integrates all the topics and the rationale that I've covered in the first three directors' commentaries. And this content, this video, walking from the Arts Centre to Rod Laver Arena, is really aiming for and hitting the targets that I've set up for myself as to why does this channel exist. I'm deliberately I've deliberately chosen this walk, and this specific walk from the centre of Melbourne to Melbourne Park, Rod Laver Arena, the home of the Australian Open for tennis, the best Grand Slam in the world. Of course, I'm biased because I live here. But this channel is not just about walking aimlessly around, or even purposefully around streets. This channel is looking to integrate some commercial goals into its behind its reasons for existence, and I'm looking to demonstrate some value to people in the commercial world, that the content that I'm creating can be integrated with a purpose into their operations or their marketing or their YouTube channel, and that one person can create some video content of a reasonable quality. So, but I've got to prove it, and this particular walk is the first one that I've set out to do within Melbourne that I've published. This is also the first video that I've put together, which is out of order. I've got some footage of other destinations which I've not given. This one has priority. So what I'm looking to do is test out some theories and some strategies, see how it all plays out before me. Looking to go and present it, and see if for the people that I'm wanting to present it to, does it hold any water for them? Do they think it's a good enough quality? Do they think it is heading towards what they want to do with their products and services? So here we are, starting off at the Arts Centre, and I was keen to also start at sunset. I'm a bit surprised that the light I thought the sunlight was a bit sharper, a bit brighter. But I'm not too worried because you can see we're in a built-up area. For the first time, this channel's so far all I've been doing is walking around my local area. It's not very built up. There's been a lot of light. Some mornings have been pretty sunny. Some days have been pretty sunny. We're in a typical Melbourne spring where the weather isn't very inviting towards outdoor activity, notwithstanding we've all been locked in to our homes for 4 months since the middle of July. Now I'm just going to pause here and check the quality of the audio before I go on. Seems so yeah, it doesn't look very bright. You might think, oh, it's the camera. It's not the camera. You can look at any of the previous videos that I've published and you'll see the camera captures light extremely well. It's just a typical Melbourne day, to be honest, and it's spring. It's it's actually typical weather for the start of the cricket season, actually. I've got a lot of memories of many times where the first 2 or 3 games of cricket washed out or played in drab conditions. So this is just Melbourne, basically. But there's a hint of you can see the time of the day, and the other thing about this particular footage is now I'll just comment there on that edit. I'm actually really keen to film and publish exactly what unfolds in front of me. But I'm not going to be too anal about it. I'm picking out different things as I go. You can tell, but there was a pause where I saw a COVID seating sign for that restaurant. I filmed it. It didn't come up to scratch, so basically cut it out. That was why there was that edit there. This is my first trip into Melbourne in 4 months. There was some very slight easing of restrictions where our 5-kilometre travel limit from our home address was relaxed and eased, and so the city was well within my new limit of 25 k's. So I was keen to get stuck into this project of my aim was to film 3 videos with a focus on the Australian Open experience and walking from the city, specifically to Melbourne Park, where the Australian Open is held. There's some, you can go a myriad of different ways. Like, there's so many different ways you can walk, ride. You can get a ferry from this particular area. We've just passed a ferry at the berth for the ferry. Ferries aren't really a part of life in Melbourne. but they have been set up, and they're mainly tourists. Tourists in they're not really commuter ferries, is what I'm trying to say. So we're just stopping at the southern side of the footbridge there, and it seems to me that there's no reason why, when I'm walking and filming, like, why not stop for an extended period of time? Like, why not let it all sink in? Now, as I was doing this, and I'm just going to backtrack a little. Like, all that was in my head was, there was two things. Like, this was my first filming expedition where I was around so many more people, and even just in your headspace, like you see, like, I've spent so much time on my own this year, and it's been so. I really don't need to say it, because I'm sure if you're listening, you've been through exactly the same experience within certain degrees. So to get out and about amongst people again, people walking past. I'm a middle-aged bloke with let's face it, grey hair, walking with a camera held at my waistline. I'm trying not to film people. I'm trying not to. I just want people to wash past me as they walk or ride or jog or whatever they're doing. Like, I don't specifically want to point the camera at people on purpose. Like, if they're within the range of the frame, well, that's fine. But I'm still getting over that feeling of I do want to be filming people in life, but I don't want to. I'm trying not to film women or females. I don't want people to feel awkward. I've definitely turned the camera away from kids or prams. But all that was in my head was I was feeling a bit self-conscious. So the start at the Arts Centre wasn't great. I'm the first to admit it. I knew it as I was filming it, but I didn't want to contrive it too much. So the reason I was pointing the camera up at the sky and the top of the Arts Spire was because I got to that spot. It's quite secluded, that spot at the Arts Centre where I started this walk off. And you can see it, it's right in front of us now, actually. There was quite a few picnickers and couples, maybe about 6. There was a group of girls picnicking on a blanket. And the last thing I wanted to do was pull out the camera, because I had a snack before I started. And I was planning out my shots and walking, within, although I would have caught their attention, but once I started filming, like, I didn't want to sort of walk past them with the camera, and so that's why the camera was pointing up at the sky. And then the other thing that was in my head the whole time while I was going was I felt like I was on a deadline I had to get to Rod Laver Arena while there was still plenty of light. So as much as I wanted to do my usual meandering around, weaving, dodging in and out, stopping for a while, I was constantly thinking, oh, come on, don't miss the sun, don't miss the sun. So although I wanted to plonk the camera down for a bit longer, but you can pause the video, obviously, if you're watching on YouTube. You can pause it. You can fast forward it too if you want. Anyway, so there's a real purpose of this in mind, and I was quite keen to get started. So since I've recorded this walk, I've done 2 more that were specifically to get to Rod Laver, but also ended up doing a 4th one unintentionally. Was and we'll get there. I'll talk about it when we get there, within the grounds of Melbourne Park, which are we're quite spoilt. There's public access to the Australian Open tennis precinct. People walk and ride through it to get to and from work or socially, or there's the courts are available for hire. Now, I just want to comment on the Yarra here, and I've actually got some negative comments. I love walking around Melbourne, and but Melbourne has changed so much, and you've already heard me say this in other commentaries. Melbourne has changed so much, and here is another example of a change that I really, really don't like. These hospitality hospitality, floating bars on the Yarra are just an eyesore as far as I'm concerned. Like, we don't need them. We don't need them. Like, what's the point of walking along the Yarra? And it's a really good walk on both sides, but you can't enjoy the view because there's this ugly floating bar impeding the view. And equally on the opposite side, you look from the south side to the north side, and you just see this ugly mess of visual pollution. I'm not a fan, and unfortunately, I found during this walk, I found a few things that I didn't like, and that's going to be a problem because I'm supposed to be pumping everything up, and the last thing you want to hear is a YouTube creator trying to sell their content, and you don't want to hear me whinging about the view, because I'm trying to sell Melbourne with this visual content. Like, the whole reason I'm walking around is because I love Melbourne, and I love what we've got to offer. I think Melbourne is head and shoulders above Sydney. I've lived in Sydney. I think the ease with which we can get around is superb. You can see even now. This is actually the last 2 to 3 days heading into. This was the Thursday before we knew that restrictions were going to be eased. Unfortunately, the Sunday after this video was filmed, our state premier teased us with some. Unfortunately, there was a small. Well, there was an outbreak significant enough to make the Premier and his health team make us wait an extra couple of days, which is a real mind game to deal with. But even you can see, even in these COVID final stage 4 restrictions, there's still plenty of people walking around. Maybe there's a couple like me that were from the suburbs, just trying to get into town and do something different. But you can see there's still quite a few people around. You can see that I'm deliberately not filming, the women as they're walking by. I don't want people to feel self-conscious. It's not about eye candy for me. Like, for me, the attraction of this content, and the attraction of this content is, Melbourne, and the personality of this channel is Melbourne, and the life within it, the culture, the lifestyle, and the people are going to come back. Life is going to come back to Melbourne, although I'll tell you, with this weather today, this last couple of weeks, and we're currently in our public holiday long weekend. That next Tuesday is Melbourne Cup, and we're suffering. Like, our city is suffering. Normally things are in full swing. Today's Derby Day. It's a week or a week and a half full of lead-up races, qualifying races, people dressing up, going to the races, gearing up for the big day, which is Cup Day, which is traditionally, well now, recent tradition being the public day for it. But unfortunately, life is just life just hasn't and won't return to normal for some time. The owners and the trainers, the owners aren't allowed to go, only the trainers and the jockeys and some race officials. So it's such a different year. And the nice thing about being able to start up this channel is documenting, how the city's been affected, from a visual standpoint. This bar. So this is a Thursday night in spring in Melbourne, and it's around about just after 6 o'clock. It's peak hour. Normally this bar at this time of year, it would be absolutely jam-packed with all these seats would be taken up with people catching up for drinks for the long weekends. People would be starting to think about their Christmas break, Christmas shopping, but you can see it's just absolutely desolate. No one there, not even staff. Although as I continue and pick up the camera here, you'll see that once I turn around, you'll see some workers there getting some things done because the hospitality, of course, was shut down. I was a bit. I really didn't have my mindset when I started this, right up until the moment I pressed record and started this walk. As I was walking around, like there's so many different ways, as I was saying, to get to Rod Laver Arena, and above these windows where that bar is, there's a walkway directly over the top of it. But I made up my mind to just walk one way, not to go up and down the stairs, to make sure that I captured everything in fairly decent light, because I'm going to be mapping and recording a lot of this area around here, and on the other side of the river. There's so many different walks, so many different ways, and I wanted to stick to my plan, which was to make sure I got there before it started really getting dark. So you can see I've dodged the workers there. I really didn't plan, and I think I might have missed an edit here. Yeah, but it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm not too fussed. Like, I'm not too fussed that it has to be perfect vision, perfect footage. Like, it's a guerrilla type of gritty, as it happens type filming style. Whatever happens within, you know, that couple of hours that I'm filming, 2 hours tops. This walk was only an hour. Usually it's less, of course, because as you'll come to learn, I do, for these long form videos, I do meander a bit, because I want to I just don't want to walk in a straight line that you can't get a sense of, well, what is the 360 degree view experience. And here I am walking up this pathway from beyond the bars, from the riverbank. I'm meandering and weaving backwards and forwards, and I'm doing that deliberately, rather than whipping the camera around and quickly whipping it around. I want to just weave backwards and forwards, not in a straight line, just to give a sense of the reality. And I'm hoping that that's something unique that will subconsciously appeal to the viewer. It might not. Now we're at the back of Federation Square here, and that's a video in itself, of course, and we're looking north towards the back end of Collins Street, those towers. That's west towards Flinders Street Station and the Rialto Towers, and on the more extreme left outside the frame is the Herald Sun newspaper building, and further into the west is South Bank Promenade and the Crown Casino Towers. So from here it was I was still on a deadline in my head. I had to stop myself from going up those steps and going through the Federation Square, the back buildings there. Now, ahead of us is a straight asphalt walkway and bicycle path straight through to the MCG and the Melbourne Park tennis precinct. And you can see I'm going to veer off onto the grass here. I was just keen to give a sense of, you know, there's a lot of open space. There's a lot of area here. This is an edit coming up. That's why the camera will pause sometimes. And that's if you've listened to other commentaries, but I'll say it here, is because the Olympus HD camera that I'm using, I've upgraded the SD cards, but it's still, the camera does stop filming after 10 minutes. And I actually like that. I like and enjoy that limitation because it makes me concentrate, and makes me subconsciously, you know, just be present of what I'm filming, what I'm doing, and stops me from daydreaming too much. So I had to be careful down here, just on the left behind near this red building, and behind this sign is a children's playground. I don't want to film kids. I don't want to be spending too much time in the editing process blurring out kids' faces or missing out on too much footage as I progress, because I don't intend, as I'm going, it's not my intention to suddenly stop what I'm filming and then go back and retrace my steps and refilm it. That's I just want it to be a really organic filming process, which then translates onto the screen, hopefully. So we're getting a sense of, in this video, we're really starting to get a sense of, the sparsity of how sparse life is in Melbourne during this lockdown. Like, yes, there's some people gradually getting out. None of these people are coming to or from work. They're all like me. They're all exercising or stretching their legs, or getting a taste of life outside their 5-kilometre zone, which has only just these last couple of days around this filming date been eased. I've never ever seen Melbourne so quiet. I really haven't. And there's another video coming up where I'm walking from the extreme west of the CBD grid through to Rod Laver and using the trams, where it was actually the day after this video was shot. The Australian Rules Football Grand Final played its grand final 2 days after I filmed this particular video. It was a month, 6 weeks beyond its original, the original finish date that it's supposed to finish on each year. And we've been given a public holiday, would you believe? We have a public holiday for any sport, it would seem, in Victoria. So we've got a holiday for our Melbourne Cup, a public holiday. And that's in 2 days' time, 3 days' time from this commentary that I'm recording today. And the AFL Grand Final, we get a public holiday the day before. But we didn't really need one. But they kept it there anyway. Now, looking east, there's 4 different ways. So I've chosen the least pragmatic, practical way by going up these stairs. But I did a photo shoot for Victoria University when I was handling the marketing there for the international students. This area didn't used to have these concrete steps. I wish they didn't. They used to have quite a nice natural looking walkway with just some very conveniently placed timber sleepers, but like with everything, it just had to be taken up more than a few notches. So I'm experimenting with some composition of the frame here, and I'm thinking, the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm always thinking of thumbnails now. I'm just trying to think what's a good thumbnail for this particular video. So that's why I sometimes stop. So here's, there's no problem filming these people because I'm at a distance and they're all sitting a fair way away from the camera, and nobody's, I'm not really intruding on anyone, but I just wanted to give a sense of, there's some people come in specifically on a Thursday night during COVID restrictions, even as they're easing. Strange light, actually. While I was filming it, it was fairly bright, and but it would seem not as bright as I thought it was. But then on the other hand, the sun's setting. Those trees never used to be there. They've grown in the last couple of years. They've been planted. So, but there's a nice grassy area, and that's the top of the CBD in the eastern end, Collins Street and Russell Street and Exhibition Street, and below and underneath that bridge and behind this stone wall is the Flinders Street rail yards, which, although they're the same size as what they were, historically through the last 100 years, there used to be 64 tracks within that area, and it used to be the primary central stabling yard for the network, and that's been decreased, and stabling is now spread out and distributed across the network through different areas. But they've decreased that 64. It's just 12 tracks now, which is amazing. And and this area used to be the state swimming centre, and also rail yards, and the last 20 years with the building of Fed Square, this is what it's become. So yeah, my photo shoot was quite successful for those international student course guides, which is the purpose of them. And those metal poles used to be the only thing on this hill, and there didn't used to be asphalt. I don't know, but I suppose the logic of it is that because there's now so many more public events in this area and so much more foot traffic, well, I suppose, yeah, it needs lighting, needs more well constructed. You can see the CCTV camera up there on the right. So yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just pining for things. You know, there's so much change going on that it would be nice if there was some things that stayed unchanged. But change is constant in life, and that's the only constant is change. So yeah, I was trying to take my time and make the most of this area. You know, find some thumbnail type settings. But yeah, I guess the sun setting, it's not really screaming out hero shot to me. But yeah, I was keen to, I mean, the other reason I'm taking my time is because with these long form videos, it gives me a chance to chop them up into smaller videos. So I don't know if the viewer is noticing a pattern there. I don't know whether they actually care about the pattern of long form and then shorter form videos. But that's the idea, is like, there's no point filming for an hour, 90 minutes or 2 hours and then just leaving it as it is. Like the idea is to make multiple products out of the one effort of production. So yeah, you can already see, it should be becoming obvious that there's multiple walkways around here. This area has come on quite well. For quite a few years, for 5 or 10 years, it was quite bare because there's all that sand, sort of sandy area, gravelly sand area down there. There used to be, for years, there used to be a Ferris wheel. This area is used for any type of mass public event, gathering you can imagine. One of my favourite memories actually down on that sandy area was in 2006 when Australia finally, our national football team, the Socceroos, we finally made it back to the World Cup in 2006. The last time we were there was the only time we were there was 74 in Germany, actually. And got back to Germany again in 2006. But the time zone difference being what it was the middle of the night for us, those matches. So luckily at the time I was able to go and enjoy the live coverage. They had 3 or 4 big screens directly in this area now that I'm looking back west over it. And so yeah, the dead of winter, with about 50 million layers of clothes on to ward off the cold. And I missed the first match against Japan actually, which was pretty hopeless on my part, to be honest. But I got in to see us play Croatia and Italy, and the penalty decision in the last 90 seconds of injury time, when we were heading for a draw, and we were going to get through to the semi-final. I think it was a quarter-final. We were playing against Italy, and they ended up winning that World Cup. But I tell you, it wasn't a nice feeling at 3, 4 in the morning, freezing cold, nearly 1 degree, no trains, too hard to get a taxi. I can't remember how I got home that night actually. Not because I drunk too much, just simply I just don't want to remember that feeling at all. But anyway, it was a great experience, and so wasn't as the vegetation wasn't as advanced. Now, speaking of advance, so what else am I commenting on? I suppose, yeah, the main thing I wanted to cover was that, this particular video exists for a reason, that I'm going to use the Australian Open as a niche and a hook within this channel. That I want to capture the attention that the Open is going to get. It's incredibly uncertain how Melbourne will cope, our sporting and cultural calendar over summer, how it will cope with COVID. It was only a few days ago that we learnt that none of us are allowed to go to the Melbourne Cup. It's only the last couple of days that the arrangements for the upcoming cricket series, the Test series, Australia-India, it's only just been confirmed how that's going to play out. For the tennis, we know with reasonable certainty that it's going to go ahead, but we don't know how. With our international borders still pretty much shut, except for flights and travel of absolute necessity, and there's still about 25,000 Australians trying to get home, and God knows how many people are stuck here trying to get out of the country to go back to their home or overseas destinations. So, but the thing of it is, the one thing I reckon I can say with absolute certainty is that the Australian Open will go ahead, and this channel aims to capture it, because I want to capitalise on the creation of this video content. I want to capitalise on the Australian Open. So I want to put the content there for tourists and sports fans and anyone with a passing interest in online video content through YouTube. I want this to this channel to be augment the traditional mainstream coverage, and I'm trying to present this footage as is there anyone in a commercial or media space that wants to take advantage of this or collaborate through this? Now I'm going to stop here on the strategy side and the reason why I'm filming this, and unfortunately this is going to be my second negative comment. This is actually, while I was filming this, I realised that I had not done this walk since this. There's been some really significant modifications between for pedestrian traffic between Flinders Street Station and Melbourne Park and the MCG, and I realised I hadn't done this walk for so long, and this was the first time I've seen this new footbridge structure, and so I can only say that I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I just, Melbourne's history and its reputation is wide open spaces, parklands, walkways, and we're losing it. And it's death by 1,000 cuts, really. Now, did we really need this concrete? This slab of concrete, and you can see how they've tried to mitigate the harsh visual aesthetic with interesting design. Well, there's only so many ways you can dress up mutton, and apparently my grandfather had a saying that mutton dressed as lamb is still mutton. I never heard him say it because unfortunately I never got to meet him. But I just look at this and I think it's yes, but is it necessary was it really that hard for people to get from the centre of Melbourne to the Australian Open? Yeah, when was Melbourne Park was the first Australian Open at the new venue was 88. I'm pretty sure it was either 87 or 88, and it's 35 years afterwards. Like, was it really that hard for people to get there? Did we really need this dedicated walkway chopping through the parkland? I'm going to say no. No, we didn't. But I get it. Like, our city is bursting at the seams. We're nearly 5 million people, or just gone 5 million. I mean, you think of the crowds that are coming now for the tennis. There's so many more people coming, for any sporting event. And Melbourne Park is just not used for the tennis. It's a multi-purpose venue for bands, obviously, and things. They're even now integrating one round of the National Basketball League into the Australian Open during the middle of the tournament. So there's literally thousands of people trying to get there, and they've also remodeled the entrance to the venue. So the entrance to the venue used to be facing Yarra, and now it's facing directly east, away from the city. So they've tried to make the entry and exit of mass gatherings of people, hundreds of thousands of people coming, because I think it's up to around about 600,000 to 800,000 people come to the just purely for the tournament, and that's a lot of people to come through. And sometimes, some years, there's some bit of aggro between different nationalities, which is unnecessary. So, it's disappointing this hard steel barrier is there. Now, what I'm trying to give a sense of is, imagine that you're a hardcore tennis fan whose lifetime dream, whether you're 8 or 80, and you're walking from Flinders Street Station, you've decided not to get the free tram, and this is your first glimpse of any Grand Slam venue, and it's a little bit impeded by this high fence, which is obviously a safety. That roadway just gets more and more built up. It never used to be there, actually. It's only there since the mid-90s. There never used to be a roadway going through there, so that's also fairly new. And I'm trying to, as I'm filming, I'm also making sure that the world famous Melbourne cricket ground, the MCG, is very prevalent in the background, and I wasn't too worried about making sure it was front and centre, because obviously I'll be filming around the MCG. Now, another surprise. Now, just got to give you some context here. Is I am not a tennis fan. I'm not a tennis fan. I have been to the Australian Open, but tennis is within my DNA as an Aussie sports fan. But as far as going to the tennis, it was never really a thing for me. The last 10 years I've been sometimes on opening day, but I tend to head to the second largest arena. Not this one. This is Margaret Court Arena, but the other one on the other side, closer to Richmond Station. You can get a cheap ground pass and spend the whole day in there basically, and sit anywhere you want and move around quite freely. But as a rule, I'm not really a tennis fan as such. I never really even played tennis much as a kid. But you can see more changes here. And what really struck me just before I started making my way to the show court here was just the problem for me for Melbourne Park is the lack of shade, the lack of tree coverage. But what really surprised me when I got there was they've taken away so many courts, and you'll see later in this particular video there's a lot of construction going on, more show courts like this. So I guess you're gonna hear from the Australian Open organisers that they want the fan experience to be the best. Is it really a great experience coming on a day when it's 35 to 40 degrees? There's no shade. There's nowhere to go to sit in the shade. It's all concrete, all this concrete. Can you imagine the heat that comes off? When I was a kid, and when I was becoming aware of the Australian Opens, when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, and you'd see the matches on at Kooyong, and you'd see people sitting in the sun for hours on these little wooden benches, and I can't imagine sitting in the open sun in 35 to 40 degrees on those plastic seats. That's not my idea of leisure. I'm happy to go sit under cover. Once I brought a international student here to this actual court, and we watched Tommy Brado one year win through to the second week, and it was really balmy and hot, and the sun was down, and for me that's what matters. I get sunburnt when they read out the weather forecast, so yeah, I'm not a fan of sitting in the open sun. I don't think it's not for me. But the great thing about this precinct is it's open public access. You can walk through. Thank God, with things that have happened over the last 5 to 6 to 20 years with terrorism and all the unrest. Thank God, we can still walk through our sporting precinct, Melbourne Park and the MCG. This all used to be this area all used to be just footy ovals, footy and cricket ovals. So it's very built up in the last 35 years. Is that a good thing? Well, you'd have to say yes, because it couldn't stay the way it was, that's for sure. But we are incredibly lucky to live here, and to have everything so close, so easy to access and get there by public transport or ride or bike or ferry or whatever. Go after work. I've got so many great memories of going to the MCG to watch the cricket after work throughout my adult life. So I guess we're getting into we're nearing the end of the video. Actually, there's only maybe 10 or 15, 20 minutes to go tops, and I'm still in my head. I'm still saying to myself, don't miss the light, because I wasn't too sure how I was going to end this video. It had to end organically. I didn't want to stop and then get that shot, or come back another day and pretend it was the same. No, I'm really keen to make sure it's organic, and you can see there's no one around at all. Now these courts are available for public hire, so if you are a tennis fan and you can come down and hire a court. We're heading into traditionally this is this period of time we're heading into the Australian Open qualifiers, where the people outside the top 100 come along and go through 3 or 4 qualifying rounds to try and get those wild cards or qualifying places. But there's I just couldn't believe how many courts have disappeared. I can't say with any degree of certainty where the courts were, because I just never came. But I was surprised at how few courts there were. And as we get over to the west side this precinct, past this show court with the graffiti on it, you'll see that there's a whole lot more building going on. Now you can see that open area. There's no shade. There's no shade. And this show court is unique in that with this shade built onto it, it's pretty unique. And then Margaret Court Arena to the right, it's only the last 3 or 4 years that they've actually made that a covered court. That used to be a show court, just like this one, and they actually expanded it and put a roof on it and enclosed it, which they wanted to make it a bit more multi-purpose for basketball and concerts and the like. Now, I was a bit surprised the ease of access to these courts. Again, I can only say I'm so grateful to our culture and our country. This is public land that this was built on. Melbourne was founded by people who saw the mistakes in Sydney with the lack of planning. Sydney just grew out of necessity, and Melbourne there was a really specific plan for how our city evolved. And like I said, this all used to be footy and cricket ovals, all the way to Richmond, from Richmond all the way up to the to Flinders Street Station, and it was a surprise when the government in the 80s announced they were going to build a tennis centre here. But thank goodness, I'm so grateful that our lives have not changed to the point where you can't, as just a member of the public, just wander around for exercise, for leisure. I was a bit surprised that I wasn't that I didn't see any security. There's so many places under watch these days with physical presence, so it's great. It's fantastic. Like, I'm so proud as an Australian and someone who lives in Melbourne that it is available, because it should be. These places should be. It's not privately owned, this property, it's government owned, and the government is us. So there you go, that's my discourse on access. So it's been a long time actually since I've deliberately walked around these grounds. So I was just taking my time, because by this stage I had the confidence that the sun wasn't going to drop out of the sky on me. So I had some fun filming these tributes to past Australian tennis players, and I was thinking of thumbnails. Unfortunately, the bin doesn't make a great addition to the aesthetic of the viewing experience. There you can see a cyclist going through south to north, and you can see the money that's been spent. And you've got to say it's been well spent on these facilities. But on the other hand, it's not for the public. Like, this is all this is all for the corporate dollar. They want to make obviously the most of all the sponsorship and opportunities that come with those badly needed sponsorship dollars. But you can hopefully you can get a sense of what I mean about the concrete. Like, it's just unbelievable. the amount of concrete around now. Before they've built the add-ons we're now sort of heading towards Rod Laver. Water bottle. And I wanted to have a bit of fun. And then the light. This camera captures the light so well. Oh, this is just reminding me. Here's a thumbnail right here, actually. Yeah. Because with this video, and now that I've got about 15 to 20 videos up and running, bros. Now that I've got a few up and running, now I'm starting to get towards the nitty-gritty of like what makes a good thumbnail. What is an attractive thumbnail? What is it about the thumbnail that tells the story of what is the content behind the thumbnail? Because what occurred to me just after I filmed this first video for the Australian Open strategy that I've got, and will be you know, following for myself. Just because I know it's, and this is actually going back to what I learnt on the photo shoots with the university gig that I had, was just because I live here and I know it's famous for a certain reason, this precinct. Like, does anyone really know overseas what the outside of Rod Laver Arena looks like? Well, you have to say no, because I don't know what the outside of Roland Garros looks like. I don't know where it is. I sort of got a rough idea of Wimbledon. Although when I went to London and I deliberately set out one day to go to Wimbledon just to have a look at it, I couldn't find it. And the only reason I found St John's Wood, which hosts the Test cricket between Australia and England, the Lord's cricket ground, the only reason I found it was because the people I was visiting, who were from Melbourne that were living and working there, they lived in St John's Wood, just up the road from Lord's. So when you're thinking of these thumbnails and the footage as well, and I'm conscious with these long form videos that there's going to be people that just want to see the they don't want a camera wandering around taking an hour to get from one place to the next. They probably just want a 5-minute video that, all right, here we are at Flinders Street, here we are at the Yarra, oh, here we are outside Rod Laver. Now, as the camera swings round, you'll see that I spend, because I've got there in time and the sun hasn't set yet, but unfortunately there's not great light, which I'm not too concerned about, because you can see the tops of these interestingly designed street posts. Those lights come out a treat, and I was really happy with how this turned out. But it occurred to me while or just after I was filming this bit that, does anyone really know who Rod Laver is? I mean, and I mean that in terms of, like, a tennis fan will know, a sports fan will know, somebody with a passing interest in Grand Slams will know, somebody with a decent amount of head for trivia or sports trivia will know. But I'm not creating this content just for those people. I mean, it's a niche and a hook to get them in, but it's this is pretty generalised content that I'm creating. So I'm now aware that, just because I'm saying I'm going to the home of the Australian Open, well, does that mean much to anyone? Who are not all those people I just named, or sports trivia people, or sports fans, or tennis fans, or whatever. So that then comes back to the thumbnail. Well, how do I portray in a thumbnail? Because people aren't reading the titles to the videos, are they? Because I don't. So it's got to be that visual hook that makes people pause while they're scrolling through that page. So yeah, it's going to be more learning. So yeah, I'm always thinking of while I'm filming now, because I want to take the thumbnail directly from the footage. I don't want to specifically take a photo of I don't want to stop filming and then take a photo, a still frame. So that's why I paused on those tennis statues. So sorry, my neighbours are just walking past. It is so quiet here. Like, normally on it's Saturday afternoon. It's the first weekend out of lockdown here in Melbourne, and I live on a street where we have a fairly good concentration of buses on a Saturday afternoon, even though but there's just nothing. There's no sound. There's no cars. There's no buses. So yeah, I just got distracted by my neighbour because I did. So we're winding down into the last 3 minutes of this video now. The music will come up in a second, which is I'm hoping is starting to become a signature. That as you hear the music, the end of the video is not far away. And I wasn't too sure how to end this filming sequence, and I've got a fair degree of a knack of just happily making up as I go along. So I just wanted to get a sense of the area. That's the Melbourne Arena, which is the second largest arena. Over there is the old Olympic Park, where the Olympic Games were held in '56. That's the old swimming centre, which is now the clubhouse for the Collingwood Football Club, and this all that grassy area is formerly a footy oval, slowly being built on and used now solely as they just bring in all these marquees. Basically, it just becomes this public event area for the tennis, and doesn't do much beyond that for the rest of the year. But I'm starting to think now of how to finish the video. I've given the viewer a sense of, the scope of the area, the breadth of the area. It's a shame about all the building, because it would be nice to just walk through a quiet, finished landscape. But as I said, they've remodeled this building. They've switched the entrance from south facing towards the Yarra. Look at that light. I love this camera. I love the way it picks up light like that. I love the flare. I don't know if really technically minded photographers do. I don't know whether this is annoying them. I don't really care. I like it. So they've spent the last 18 months flipping the entrance from the south facing towards the river. Now it faces east into the sun of the morning. And I was keen to get a sense, and I was just thinking of finish. And then I caught, out of the corner of my eye, I caught Rod Laver on his statue. And from there on in, it was a no-brainer to finish off with Rod Laver. So here we come up. We're in the last 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes 50 seconds. So I want to say thanks for watching these videos. Whether you've watched, whether you've clicked the thumbnail and it wasn't for you, and you're not actually hearing me thank you, that's sort of vindication that the content is starting to do its job. If you've listened for 10 seconds and you hated it, I still thank you, because you've had a reaction, and a reaction, good or bad, is what I'm after. If you've listened to anywhere between 90 seconds and 5.5 minutes, I can't thank you enough. So I'm hoping that this content is starting to find its home within the YouTube space. What I'm hoping is that it'll start getting traction. As of today, Saturday the 31st of October 2020, for the last week and a half, I've had a huge, almost terminal drop in numbers. There's some real growth happening up until a week and a half ago. They've just dropped off a cliff the whole way around, everything except average view time, I think it was. But I'm not chasing stats. It does get into your head, which was one of the reasons why I dropped off Facebook and social media in general. It just gets into your head that, why aren't people looking, or why aren't people commenting on my post, or why aren't people, it starts to eat away at your self-esteem and your headspace, and the psychology of it is, and there's books written about this. So in the last 2 years, it's a fact that social media is set up to suck us in and get us all living like Pavlov's dog. We're about to wind down here, so I'm going to say this: please subscribe, please like, or at least keep some faith in this content. Maybe if you don't like it now, come back in a couple of weeks and maybe a month, and you'll see it'll evolve. It's not always going to look like this or be like this. I've just upgraded to another high performing SD card. I'm starting to price vlogging cameras. I'm upgrading the laptop. This thing will grow and is intended to grow. And for all the commercial partners and all the collaborators that I've still yet to meet, I'm looking forward to chatting to you about this channel. This is the bloke who walks. This is This Walking Life, and we'll chat to you next time.
It's Waterman. Welcome to Project Melbourne Metro Underground Rail, the site of the new Parkville station. If you come with me, we'll start right away. Waterman, yes, I'm transport consultant to the government. It's my job to act as a liaison between STM, Asia Pacific and the government of Victoria and the Transport Minister in particular to advise on timelines and make sure that everything to do with the contract has been awarded to this firm, that the timeline's being met. So it's my pleasure to welcome you today as a visitor and investor from interstate and overseas. We'll be taking a short tour of the site, so if you come with me, we'll start right now. That ends our tour for today. We hope you enjoyed this insight into state government's preparations for how your investment money is being spent. Here at the site of the proposed new Parkville station as part of the Melbourne Metro Underground Rail project. My name's Waterman. If you have any more questions, you can contact me via the Victorian State Government Department of Transport, STM Asia Pacific.